John Lilly once put it this way: there are no limits at all to the human mind whatsoever, except those we impose on ourselves because of our beliefs. And those limits are also beliefs to be transcended. And that's a view that suggests that the possibilities of human transformation are virtually infinite. And we have no way of knowing the outer horizon of what it means to be human.
And really, to understand all this, everything, you have to go very, very deep into a study of history, consciousness, neurophysiology, everything. You have to be the supreme eclectic type of leaning, and you really have to be wanting to know who you are and what everything's about.
And the thing that you'll find when you go to sacred sites, if you're very humble about it, is that you are on a personal journey, and the sacred site will respond to you in a way that is appropriate only to you. The information is always what you are searching for. And it's the intent you give that energy that defines whether it is used for right action or not. And it is inside these sacred spaces that you will be reminded that you are a god, that you are a bright star.
So what you're trying to do is move through the course without ricocheting off walls or creating karma. You're trying to slide through things smoothly. How do you do that? It's called flowing. There's a technique that you can do that will allow you to touch some part of your inner being that has more knowledge than your conscious state does.
They're also beginning activation of something called EMP technologies, electromagnetic pulse technologies. The ETs have given them enough understanding of grid mechanics, ley lines, certain electromagnetic fields that run in geometrical form through the literal rock of the Earth grid that connect with the magnetic fields of the planet. They have been learning over the past probably 30 years how to manipulate these things. They can, if they want to, create earthquakes. They can, if they want to, control weather patterns. These aren't fiction things. Our government knows how to do this. And it's been doing it in little test areas to see what happens. There are certain viruses being created on purpose to get rid of certain elements of the population that certain government people think are not welcome here. They're tests. And the more these tests work, the more confidence they get. Because what they want to do is basically get everybody corralled under a control. It's called a frequency fence. Then they can weed out the gene codes they want and the ones that don't. And they can make the ones that don't want disappear. Right now, the ones the government and the ETs don't want too many of around are the ones with high concentrations of the silicate matrix. Because if too many of them activate at the same time, it's going to change the whole frequency for the race morphogenetic field. Hundreds monkeys syndrome. It'll flip it over for the rest of the people. None of them will be able to be controlled if enough people activate their silicate matrix on the planet. So right now, and this is stuff that's not in the book either, this is kind of recent things that were told to me. The agenda on the intruder side is to instigate a form of ethnic cleansing by having us kill each other. You know all our scenarios about Armageddon and World War III and all that stuff that everybody's getting a little nervous about because it's, year 2000 is coming up. Is it going to happen? Is something weird going to happen? Well, no, not in the year 2000. When we cross over there, we're just going to wake up the next morning and probably have a hangover from one heck of a celebration the night before. But there is a plan to use electromagnetic pulse technologies, run them through the grid and through the known electrical circuitry, because there's something called a phantom pulse. That is a pulse that's sent through the Earth core that has the ability to pick up any other electrical signal, and run with it as a trace, as a phantom pulse. And they carry programs. They're almost like floating digital programs. When those floating digital programs come through you, I mean, we're getting beamed with electricity from everywhere we turn. You know, there's wires everywhere, there's lights everywhere. You know, your toaster becomes your enemy in this case. You know, unplug that thing. These electromagnetic pulse, phantom pulses, move into the human bioenergetic field. We need to realize that we are made of energy. We are electromagnetic phenomena ourselves. And we extend far beyond just the matter part of that. Our bioenergetic fields, we have a chakra system, we have an auric field, and we have something called a morphogenetic field, which is the core level. It's called the Gathara level. And we get into the teachings of that. These are the levels of energy upon which everything else is built. These are the levels of our being that get affected by ultra-low frequency pulsing, by phantom pulsing. And there are beings who know how to use this pulsing to get exactly the results they want. The pulses, and they have started this. They started it in August. Actually, they started it in Kosovo. It was a test to see if they could stir up tensions by causing electromagnetic irritation in the auric fields of certain groups of people. It worked. There was a mess over there. That was just a test. In August, they sent pulses out in the US, 3 of them. They will build. They don't go out instantly. They build as a charge of tension, a static within bioenergetic fields that registers in the emotional body and in the mental body, makes people uncomfortable, and they get more irritated. Now, you combine that with the opening of seals, planetary vortices, the planetary chakra system, the 7 seals. We're coming up between January 2000 and 5/5/2000. The 4th vortice, which is the one that lets in V4, 4th dimensional frequency, is opening. That's going to put a real frequency blast behind the pulsing that's being sent out. It's going to amplify the programs. It's going to amplify the tensions. On November 18th, they have the next pulse scheduled, and that's for the Jerusalem vortex. They already don't like each other a lot over there. It's never peaceful over there. They don't need any help. And then in December, on 12/12, they get my workshop in New York. They're going to be doing one in China. They are setting the stage to create that what will happen over the next 5 years or so will be mounting of tensions within the political arenas that would culminate into us doing an ethnic cleansing on ourselves. They're confident that this would work because among our people on planet Earth, who we all share a certain element of the same gene code called the Turanician gene code, which is the original human, there are certain factions that have more ET gene code, that have more what's called Black Sun gene code than Diamond Sun gene code, which is the silicate matrix. There are legions of human beings that are impulsed through the intuitive facility by those matrices of consciousness. By creating wars, and this has been done in our history over and over, whenever there was a concentration of Diamond Sun, silicate matrix family lines, they would instigate trouble, and they would call in their own human legions to make sure they killed as many of them as possible and shut them up. Whenever there were books written that told the whole truth, that told the true ability of the body to ascend, not just how to worship some God outside of yourself. I mean, that's fine. God's great. But there's more to your relationship with God than simply praising a priest. You don't have to have a priest to be your intermediary. There were teachings that were put here that were beautiful, that allowed a human being in one lifetime to make a full connection to Source, to integrate its soul, its oversoul, its avatar, and its Rishi identity. The levels of identity you all have. You probably don't know right now. And in that process, the silicate matrix activates, and you progressively work yourself out of the time cycles of lower dimensional fields and into the higher ones. This was here at certain times, and whenever enough of the knowledge got out, the other side would come in and make sure the people carrying that knowledge disappeared. Made sure they didn't have a very strong hold here where their children could be born to pass on that knowledge. And they made sure the books were twisted, if not just destroyed. It's going to happen again if we don't wake up. if we don't realize this isn't funny anymore, this isn't Stephen King, this isn't Star Trek, this is planet Earth coming out of centuries of subtle mind control to begin with. It's so amazing to some of us to think that we could be going under mind control. No, not us, especially in America. We're free here, you know, nobody messes with us here. Think about it. Are we free? Do we know anything, really? We know what we're told. We believe what we're told to believe. And we're taught to not question and simply follow authority. That's a very subtle way of mind control. If you want to control somebody, you know, hold them like this, as any of the communist nations show, you know, that does create rebellion because if you're outwardly controlling someone, they will try to fight for their freedom. Unless you totally repress them and they just give up their will to live or be. Here, you give them enough rope, themselves. Just let them play. Let them think they're free. Then we can do whatever we want behind their back. Keep them distracted. Keep them into consumerism. Buy more, get more, you know? Keep them into all that distraction stuff. And you can do anything you want to do behind their backs and over their heads and under their noses. That's exactly what we have been raised in for generations. But there's enough awareness coming to the planet now. And awareness is a frequency. Everything is a frequency of energy. A pulsation pattern, a rhythm of energy. Every word I speak has an energy signature to it. So we're dealing with frequencies of awareness now that are birthing into this planet that haven't been here in a long time.
Hey guys, Andre Hodge, 7 of Truth, Infinite Potential Healing with you once more. Thanks for finding me and thanks for allowing me to be a part of your journey. And I want to, if you've tolerated me for the most of 2022 or even longer, I truly appreciate it. It's not easy to find someone like me these days, so awesome work on your keyboard ninja skills to find me. Can't believe it's December, late December 2022. I don't know how your year has gone, but mine has been full of expansion and even more expanding in the recent times. And I appreciate Carleen for being up for doing some recordings and challenging things, being able to step up and trusting me to heal her and stuff, alright? So we'll probably do more and stuff. I haven't been in touch with her, being deliberate in my actions and stuff short term. But the reason why I offer those recordings, it's not about displaying me or whatever and stuff. It's just to give you an idea of what goes on. The challenges of all sorts of beings with different levels of perception and stuff like that. Because and the last recording, sharing aspects about me is it's not about ego, it's putting a target on my back, do you understand? But fucking bring it, alright? That's how I am, like, what are you going to do, alright? So, and then if stuff influences you, then you can employ karmic violation sort of stuff to work with that, if that makes sense. So, and it's getting towards December 21st, and so those of you that listened to me a while back, and I think it was early November that I suggested that those AshayanaDeane recordings on my website that I've got downloadable, those of you that have worked pretty hard in the last 6 weeks and stuff, I hope you're able to do a hindsight review of what you knew previously to what you know now. And those of you that have gone, say, through my Echo series and So this is going to be Influences Part 3, and I'm probably going to call it The Challenges of Expansion. And I've offered Incarnation Warp Part 6 because I found more context for that. I did a sort of a review, sort of galactic sort of thing to give the bigger scales just before I did that Galactic Special Forces Part 11 with Carleen last weekend. So those of you that have been thorough and done your Mr. Miyagi wax on, wax off, sort of repeated thorough explorations and stuff, it's a privilege for me to have you include me in your journey and assist in whatever happens and stuff. So, I mean, Carleen always talks about the transparency and stuff like that, but to me it's just, I trust that you guys can perceive through all the bullshit illusions that people say, and my attitude is, say, operating with someone like Carleen, you are already transparent, alright? So they can see everything, and then when you're displaying, like me, I know when people lie, I can tell, I just tune into the frequency. So authenticity is an ally, alright? And as I said, in that recent release, truth is not a violation, alright? Just because this world is sort of making truth feel that way, you should see how the system and all that is expressing itselff through media and all the different tentacles of the structure. It's telling us how it feels, alright? Do you understand? You don't have to take on board their fear via your empathic sonar, and body integration. Perhaps you've got chips or implants that are allowing that to filter through, alright? So, what I've probably done is shown might be a bit of a random sort of clip from Paul Chek before. I'm just offering that because Paul Chek, it comes from an awesome lecture from 2009 called The Dirt Facts, and I'm probably going to include many other clips from it. It might be a bit outside of the theme, like the galactic sort of theme and stuff that I've been doing, and I don't want that to be the what it's all about with me. To have a solid foundation in your physical body is absolute.
So as you can see with the title, it's Nutrition, the Dirt Facts, getting right down to the absolute basics. What do we have to do to make everything else work? That's what I want to talk about today. So our learning objectives in this 90 minutes that will go by very fast, and you will probably think that I'm speaking at about 750 words a minute, but I doubt I can outperform Robert Rakowski. I will try. We want to look at what is called the wheel of life and recognize the vital relationship between soil health and nutrition. So soil, in other words, the nutrition in the soil, and the health of plants, animals, and man. We want to learn to feed people correctly and avoid unnecessary industry-driven hype or the application of this for that nutritional supplemental approaches. I'm not saying that I don't think there's a place for that. But I'm saying what you'll see if you look around is that the nutritional industry is now pretty much owned by the drug industry, and the whole nutritional concept is now just, by prescription. If your butt itches, I got a pill for you. If your hair's falling out, I got a pill for you. It's not really looking at causes. It's just this for that, which is exactly how the drug system works, how allopathic medicine works. We want to see natural eating and organic food or nutrition as an essential element in high-performance programming, and it may actually be essential for the survival of man as a race, as I will show you. I know that's a pretty heavy-duty statement, but I have facts and things to back it up, so hang around. So the typical client that I see, a CHEK client, which is Corrective Holistic Exercise Kinesiology, that's my last name, but that's the acronym I use for my institute. Among many other things, I use a very comprehensive questionnaire that takes people usually 3 to 4 hours to fill out, and it's weighted, and it indicates to me which of their organ systems and hormonal systems and even psychological components are under stress. There's 29 systems that I look at here, and based on that and many other forms of analysis, whether it be blood tests, hormonal tests, salivary tests, cortisol rhythm tests, whatever I feel is necessary, I have to make decisions about how I'm going to address my client. I do not ever design exercise programs without a complete analysis of the emotional, mental, spiritual, and nutritional components. My first visit usually takes 10 to 16 hours with a client. That's spread typically over a few days. This is the only way I'll see people, because after 22 years of hard work, I can tell you, for me, in my opinion, that's the only way I can get the results that I want. And part of it has to do with the fact that the people that come to see me have pretty serious problems, and they've tried most conventional approaches. Okay, the topsoil is the Earth's digestive system. Okay? I'm going to show you now how the Earth's digestive system processes and metabolizes nutrition in the soil. And what I'm going to show you is that whatever you do to the Earth's digestive system, you automatically do to yours. There's no way around it. Okay? So I'm going to take you through 2 phases of Earth digestion. The first phase is called superficial. The second phase is called deep digestion. And I'll also show you what our modern farming technologies are doing to the Earth's digestive processes. First, it's important for you to know that in all serious farming operations, organic and biodynamic, the production of humus or compost is absolutely an essential, a pivotal point upon which the entire farm operates. So in any real farm, you will see composting being done constantly, because that is what controls the nutrition in the soil, and that is what is essential to feed the plants and keep the nutrient values up and feed the microorganisms. And this is mixed in with fertilizer, and I'll show you how it all works in a minute. It's also very important for you to realize just what's in healthy soil. 1 gram, which is about the weight of an American penny. So 1 gram of soil, or a half a sewing thimble, you know the little thimble you can put over your finger in sewing? Half a thimble is about 1 gram of soil. Has some 600 million microorganisms of tens of thousands of different species of bacteria, of fungi. So there's about 600 million microorganisms and some 10,000 species of bacteria and fungi. Our ancestors are prevalent in healthy soil, and they're down there doing a tremendous amount of work for us, as I will show you. Here's a quote from a famous British farmer who is on record for having numerous awards in farming, breeding racehorses, and was cited by the UK government for producing the most nutritious milk of all the farmers in the UK, and was investigated by the government when the quality of the milk in the UK started dropping down so low it became a national risk. And they found that out when they had almost 50% of the soldiers reporting for duty in the Second World War had to be turned away due to malnutrition. So when they found this guy's milk at such a high quality, they investigated and found out that he was using organic farming principles. He's written several books on farming. One of the comments he makes in here is absolutely essential to keep in mind. Soil organisms are the unpaid labor force of the farm, working constantly to break down not only the organic matter present in the soil, but also its complex minerals, so making them available to plants. So what he's showing you here is that the microorganisms in the soil are the absolute essential workforce, and they take what you would know of as soil minerals or rock, and they convert them in their bodies, liquefy them, and make them bioavailable to plants. Most people actually think plants eat dirt. Plants don't eat dirt any more than you do, and plants don't eat poop any more than you do. Okay? The soil microorganisms are the ones that like the poop, and the soil microorganisms are the ones that perform all the alchemical functions to convert nutrition out of rock and soil into food that can be fed to plants. Here's a who eats who board of microorganisms. So there's symbiotic microorganisms in here, These are special mycorrhiza fungi, which I'll show you, and then there's a whole host of different organisms that eat each other. What's going on in the soil, if you could just shrink yourself down, I guarantee you, if you could shrink yourself down and they had TV, it would be just like watching, Terminator or something. It would be just like that. There'd be people getting killed, stuff getting blown up, bugs on vacation, bugs having sex. It would be wild as hell down there, okay? And that's the who screws who eats who board, okay? And that's important because a lot of people, for example, won't eat meat because they think, oh, I want to be spiritual and I don't want to harm animals. But what they don't realize is that the plants are being fed by the microorganisms that support that particular type of plant. And one of the first things that happens is the friendly symbiotic microorganisms for any plant eat the enemy and feed it to the plant. It's been shown by hard, cold research that plants are carnivorous as hell. Okay? You might want to know that. So if you're a vegetarian, you're just eating little animals. They're just being fed to you in a liquid form. I don't mind. I just want people to be educated. I wrote 2 very comprehensive articles about vegetarianism in my Czech report. So if you're interested, you can contact the Institute and find out about that. But I addressed all the dogma and completely obliterated a lot of the common stuff with fact and knowledge.
What I've probably done is shown might be a bit of a random sort of clip from Paul Chek before. I'm just offering that because Paul Chek, it comes from an awesome lecture from 2009 called The Dirt Facts, and I'm probably going to include many other clips from it. It might be a bit outside of the theme, like the galactic sort of theme and stuff that I've been doing, and I don't want that to be the what it's all about with me. To have a solid foundation in your physical body is absolute. That's I've been probably getting tired of me saying heal, 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 heal. All right, but say the thing with a lot of people want their abilities or want this or want that or want to be something other than themselves right now. All right, and that's cool. There's aspiration and lack and stuff, and trusting that you are more, which all my content is about inspiring that. This video will be incorporating some of the concepts that I've said in the recent videos, but putting them all together because I've spread them out quite a bit. But I've been brewing to do this influences part 3 for a while because I've had a lot of interesting interactions with people that I've helped out with certain situations. Even this weekend it expanded even more. And so this is going to expand on the previous 2 influences releases. But the challenges of expansion, all right? Or the challenges of expansion of your awareness. What I want to do in these is, it's not to make you fear or anything and all, okay? What I'm inviting you to do is, this shit has been going on to all your life and lives, and if we go back to Carlene for 420 billion years, all right? I don't think you would be here amongst the 8 billion on Earth right now if that wasn't your truth, all right? So if you've ingested Galactic Special Forces Part 11, where we dropped a lot of really epic things, all right? That's, to me, my purpose. And I've been around all these beings that are very aware for a very long time, and I've never gotten anywhere near that, all right? Because to me, all right, knowing the context of the bigger scales, it's that foundation of truth. If I've showed those images, you don't have a foundation to launch from, all right? And so there's an obfuscation of the truth to prevent you from accessing all your talents and stuff. So you have to really be very tough and discerning, everyone that you've been through, and I've invited you to do that to me. If I show that, the discernment image, discernment mechanics, alright? Put me into the black or the red, alright? To do it for everyone you've ever met, everyone you've ever listened to. Give yourself permission to reassess everything and clear all the baggage of stuff that you've perhaps taken on board. And I've been doing it myself, and I'm keep removing stuff, and I keep seeing stuff because the majority of us don't really get the context of the multidimensional that Carlene sort of gets, alright? So I'll just show another image. So I haven't shown this for a little while, but this is the metaphor of the highly aware beings versus those expanding, right? Those unaware, born into this reality without their talents and stuff. And so, say from Carlene's perspective, she's come with epic awareness, but it hasn't lined up to anything out there, alright? And so she felt like she was perhaps crazy, alright? And I am very fortunate. People with awareness do trust me, and I'm not in competition with them. I'm how I am. I love how I am. And I joke with her, it's like one of my, I think I've built into this life is the discovery of things. I get such joy from being a detective and finding out things and getting the nourishment from investment in growth, you know? So I love that. So I've probably built that into my reality in the unawareness realm, but I know I was undercover. I've talked about what happened to me in 2008, and then it was on like Donkey Kong for me. And so many of you, alright, I'm just sort of relentless, and I've got qualities, and I've gone through my journey that's reduced and eliminated a lot of the things that most people seek. And so I'm just this byproduct of trying to work out my life, and I'm trying to understand it to be able to make good decisions, because the whole thing about my currency trading days and stuff was I realized I traded on the narrative, the information on the narrative, and I freaking lost so much money. So I had to go out and I had to get primal on truth, right? I had to go hunt for truth. And this is what I've said in the past. This is an interesting thing, right? Is, how about this? How about you put no responsibility on an external variable that they have any responsibility of giving you the truth. Take the ownership of the primal aspect of hunting truth, that it's your responsibility, and just see the outrage mob and stuff, like I've done the narrative sort of and the sub-narrative thing in Echoes Part 5. Just see how much power has been given away by people wanting to be fed the truth like birds, like being fed by their mothers sort of thing. If you take responsibility of what the truth is for you, then you're eliminating an external variable that is a power giveaway. Does that make sense? So go primal on truth. So yeah, that's a metaphor of what a lot of people are going through. And my attitude, there's a big go time now, right? And say, even just say what Carlene offered me about I've got a fleet, all right? And all these other people around me, they've never shared anything that's really substantial about me. Does that make sense? But they've benefited from it, all right? And so this is a funny thing. What do you I'll show you another image, all right? So you just see, this is an image I've shown many times, all right? But just see this metaphor I've said that I worked out, that we weren't in quarantine protecting the rest of the universe. We were in embargo, all right? So it took me 10 freaking years to get this concept, you know? All that I've been through and all that I've been aware and all that I've been steered away from that, all right? So say Carlene just dropped to me, I've got a freaking fleet, all right? And I've come up with this concept. They've been cut off. So what do you think I'm freaking telling my fleet to do, all right? Okay? where do you think they're gonna freaking like give some pressure back, right? So yeah, that's what I've sort of been doing. I might show this funny Japanese prank clip where smokers are being bombarded by smokers.
続いてのターゲットはザブングル。番組収録の合間に喫煙室で一休み。景色すごいいいのかキャラっぽくなっているのか。ではどうぞ。
やばい息が吸えないって。気持ち悪いねえ。ちょっとこれなんやねん。悔しいです。
I was trying to find, I love the Japanese pranks because they're epic, right? I was looking for, you know, when you're in an elevator and all of a sudden a massive crowd comes in and puts pressure on you and puts your face up, like squished against the window and you're squished, you know? I was looking for a video like that. I couldn't find one, but yeah, that's the sort of metaphor. How about we put some freaking pressure on these scumbags, alright? Okay. These scumbags, you know? How about we give them some love, yeah? Alright? That's where I'm at the moment, alright? Because to me what's going on right now, and I mentioned at the start I think of Galactic Special Forces Part 11 with Carlene, is the disillusionment with all the stuff out there is because that lack of satisfaction with what's being offered is creating a window for you to go deeper and potentially tap into the true source information yourself of the planet and the universe, alright? There's nothing wrong about searching and stuff, but if you master the moment, alright, see what happens. The key is you have to be willing to see that the mechanics of accessing it are probably a bit different than what you ever thought, alright? So you have to go into new territory, shed all the other shit, and you probably got influence as well, and that's all cool. Yeah, I might just show you something. I forgot I was gonna show you something. Alright, I might just show you a few things. So I forgot I was going to do this, but I'm glad I remembered in real time. I was going to show you a couple of tools that I have that might help you with influences and stuff. You know, there's always this aging and smudging and stuff like that, but honestly, it helps and stuff. It's a tool and it's a frequency and all that sort of stuff. But I've actually got another cool one, because with the pranic healing, if you've listened that I do, I have to actually wipe my hand. Pranic healing is all about energy hygiene, MCKS pranic healing. And the guy that birthed it, he wanted to do it so there's a healer in every household around the world, alright? So what you have to do in between sort of chakras is use isopropyl alcohol to wipe your hands and stuff, right? Because alcohol is a great clearer of negative energies and stuff. So I'll show you what I've got. I've got a couple of these, and I'm probably going to get some more, alright? And I have them in my room and around other places in my house, potentially for big negative energy antidote sort of stuff, right? So this is a 5 litre one. In Australia, it's 5 litres. So I think it's about, a gallon is 3.8 litres or something. So it's almost a gallon and a half or so. So it's 70%, alright? So I have a couple of these. I've used a fair bit of it. But yeah, you can get these. I think it costs me about 30 or $35 to $45 with shipping and stuff. So you can get a couple of these and just have them strategic places around your home and stuff to suck up negative energies, right? And you can clear them in the sun and stuff like that. But these are more like, I see it as like Wi-Fi's for Frackery to clear your house, all right? So it's just a tool that's out there, and you can have it in your room and under your bed or bed head and stuff like that, all right? So I've used it quite a bit, but I've got other ones because I go through it with doing my healings. Another thing is obviously salt packs. So this is just, you can get the ones with double zip bags, all right? And all you do is just press all the air out and they don't go everywhere, all right? So the double zip can help and stuff. So that's like a cup or two of Epsom salt and Himalaya salt, all right? One big thing is complacency, all right? So you think you've got them and you can use them and stuff. It was even interesting for me. I change them every now and again, maybe every 2 weeks to a month, because I do so much healing on myself and that. But I actually changed them out this week, and it was really interesting because I had issues in my thighs, in between my thighs, and I could feel it rewiring and repairing my energy field in real time. So it was really cool. It was so I suggest maximum every 2 weeks, and if you've been through a lot of stuff, yeah, just employ them quite consistently. Your spleen as well, but your medulla and your tailbone, and particularly if you're feeling pretty fatigued. I was going to talk about complacency, and it's sort of like you're in a well, right? Trapped, and you can't get out, and you don't even know you're in it. The thing with energy hygiene and maintenance and stuff, it's not about, oh, I'm feeling good or whatever. You do it because it's to be done. It's an incorporation of your life. All right, and so you don't wait to feel bad because that's too bad. All right, that's crossing a line already, so you're probably in trouble. You do it proactively to prevent all that stuff, because from what I gather and what I'll show in these is people don't have the sensitivity to really understand what's going on. So if you're proactive, and this is what I'm saying, all right. So I've shown this recently, all right. This is like a metaphor of our journey. Alright, so this is what we are living in all the time, right? And the red is all the frackery, and the green is like our potential, right? And the red does not want us to be aware, and so that's 3D 5 sense awareness limit, the black line, and the red line is the 11.5D, that the negative metagroove sort of hierarchical sort of stuff that's influencing everything in the universe doesn't want us to penetrate, because that's their limit, alright? So raise the bar on what's going on around you, despite what you may not feel, and all this stuff I'm saying is going on to you that you don't know, to keep you down there, alright? That's how it is. Don't feel bad about it. Honor yourself, because you're still being badass enough to get to even contemplate this stuff out of the 8 billion here, alright? But don't think that that is not your potential, alright? Don't think that, you know, you can't, or you front load things with the absence of things. So you actually, if I did a manifestation show earlier in the year, about 6 months ago, be the director of your own destiny, you have to rewire certain aspects to be your own contrarian in many respects. I'll leave that out there for you to go and seek to revisit, alright? Might be a good one to revisit before December 21st and stuff. But yeah, just because you are now doesn't mean you don't have the potential, but you have to have the courage to explore a different way of thinking and stuff, right? So I'm going to move on. Another cool tool I found out there were these crystal eye patches, right? So that's tourmaline and jade, alright? So what I do with these, alright, you can put them over your eyes, and when I do the infinite section, I do use them and stuff. It's a, obviously you get, maybe I'm a shit magnet of bullshit and targeting and all that sort of stuff, so just employing basic salt packs and stuff, they're not enough. Or they are enough, but I like to just be thorough and invest in tools and stuff. And these are out there. I don't know how easy they are for you where you are, but jade's very healing and tourmaline is very good for negative stuff, right? So what I do with these, all right, I don't use them as eye patches. I can do it over my third eye and stuff, but I put them behind my medulla and my tailbone, and then I also do them in the groin points and other areas like your heart and stuff. So say if I put them under pillows and all that sort of stuff, because I get a lot of interference if you've not gathered already, all right? So I've used all that to get better and seek better and I've used it as multidimensional muscle training to just get to here. Does that make sense? So to me, all right, the energy to stop this is massive, whereas the alignment with truth is very elegant and efficient. So that's my metaphor, all right? So you can burn your system down trying to stop me if you want, but I'm still going to be relentless, and I'm going to use what you're doing to get stronger, all right? But yeah, these are the sort of things out there, and you have to use your genius to think, I can put them other areas. So I put them under my salt packs and stuff like that to combine, make it interesting. So tourmaline and jade, pretty cool, hey? There's all this sort of crystal stuff out there. So another thing I've got, it's called a Shukti mat, alright? And I think they're about $70-$80 and stuff. So it's like an acupuncture mat, if you can see. And they're pretty hardcore, alright? So they're another thing out there that you can use, because what you want to do is stimulate the body and trick all the influences and stuff. So with the say if you've listened to the things that I've done with Carlene, all right, there's all sorts of blocks and chips and implants and all sorts of frackery, all right? So we've got 600 or 700 meridian points or acupuncture points and all the meridians and all that sort of stuff. So one instance that I see is sort of menopause for women, and they get all hot flushes and stuff. It could be that you've got 300 acupuncture points blocked, and there's all these detours of all the energy that should be naturally flowing, and it creates distortions, and the outcome is that the energy has nowhere to go but express itself in that, all right? I'm not a doctor, I'm not anything, I'm just offering these sort of outputs that are potentially related to the distortion and energy and stuff like that. So these sort of things can help, all right? And so say that if I have trouble sleeping and I wake up early and stuff, and I don't know what to do, I don't want to get up and stuff, I might do that, and with my salt packs and my crystal patches and stuff in my tailbone and all that sort of stuff, and it might help me to disarm whatever was going on and go back to sleep and get some more restorative sleep. So they're just sort of things that you can do and play with and employ, and they're not very expensive, but it's you have to be disciplined and put effort in and be committed, because to maintain high awareness in this unawareness realm does take responsibility. And I have infiltrators trying to get in all the time and stuff, and people want me as a part of their journey and stuff like that. So the hooks are out and all sorts of stuff, and creating emotional sort of guilt trips and all sorts of stuff. But if you've realized what's going on with me, I'm pushing really hard, I'm being transparent and risking a lot, and I'm sort of putting that target on my back to see what gets shaken out. But I feel very good, and I feel very grateful that we had this materialism in our world, that we can access these things where we've probably never had them in the past and stuff. So yeah, they're just some tools that I thought I'd share. All right. So the challenges of your expansion, and I don't like to employ assumptions and stuff like that, but instead of thinking you've got something else other than what you have to be, just contemplate that this stuff is going on. You're living it, and it's a component into why you may feel an absence of awareness When you say measure someone like Colleen or whatever, and that's all cool, but don't integrate that it isn't in your potential either. Alright? So I'm just going to go through a couple of images really quick that I've shown in the past. Alright? So I've shown this in the past. Right? It's like a metaphor of the reality, trying to keep us in the 3D 5 sense. Alright? Low life force. Alright? And there's this metaphor of sound barrier that has a resistance to penetrating. But then what can happen is you can get overcome a lot of stuff. Alright? And then you can get on the other side of it with abundance of life force because all the stuff isn't interfering with you. And then it can be a lot easier, right? But it's your journey to get through that. It's not up to anyone else. So if you take responsibility for that, that's all of our potential. And what we've sort of been saying with Colleen is, and in my releases is, I think from mid-October when a lot happened, we've sort of gone through the Mount Everest of frackery, and it's a bit more plain sailing now, alright? But it's still each of our responsibility to clear ourselves and be a match to that, alright? So I'm just going to move on. So I showed you this in the last video. So what can happen is when you start expanding, there can be all this stuff that kicks in around you, say dormant programs and all that, and people around you were influencing you to mess with you and all sorts of stuff, and you didn't have awareness of that. But then when you shift, it reveals a lot, alright? And so it can be like an embryonic sort of new territory, unfamiliar, and you don't know the rules, and the rules all change, alright? So you might be accommodating people and all sorts of stuff where they're getting a benefit from you, accommodating them and all sorts of stuff, right? So I'm just wanting to move through these. That was what I talked about in Influences Part 2, alright? So I'll move on. So then this sort of stuff happens, right? So we each in our individual journey, we might have moments of expansion and stuff, and then there's consequence. Or the stuff can be consequential before we even go through things and expand because we're a threat through time and stuff. So I'll talk about that a bit later with one of the instances. And so this is our metaphoric journey, and the red is all the false teachers and all the influences and all the frackery, all the narratives and all that sort of stuff, which its potency is waning, right? But the influences and the comfort nature of that past acceptance and the Stockholm syndrome are gravitating to the falsehood that, you know, like the main body of spirituality and community and stuff, they don't do it on purpose, because to understand the sort of stuff I've been saying, how epic it all is, it's really complicated. And a lot of people have vested interests and they don't want to say, holy shit guys, I've been talking a lot of crap because I've listened to this stuff and it's wrong. Do you think people will come out with that? You know, and then they're more worried about being seen as a fraud and that. I see it as courageous, alright? Because we're all in this, alright? And as, if you listen to the Galactic Special Forces 10 and 11, the scales of stuff that we've been up against are so unfathomable to most people out there, alright? So it's courageous to even contemplate that, alright? So I'm just going to move on. I'll just show you this again, because it was in Incarnation War Part 6 where the effort is just to eliminate our lives, like reduce it, and even send, the Incarnation War is broken from my perspective, so they're sending souls through to you know, the livestock and insects and stuff like that, alright? So this is all what we're up against, the level of influence where the incarnation, which it is an incarnation war because the incarnation mechanics are so mastered, you know, and we're taught that there's no such thing for the most part. So no one even has like a past life regression or anything like that, you know, to even have an experience. So we're up against a lot of dogma and all those sort of things, alright? So I'm just going to move on. I'm not sure if I've shown this in part 1. of influences, but this is sort of thing that can happen as well. So I'm pretty sure I did, alright, because it was in April, so it's a long time ago now. But what happens if you expand is there can be dormant aspects in people around you that don't kick in unless you actually start challenging the paradigm, so to speak, and being a threat. So people around you can be weaponized with energetic stuff in them. And how many people in this world actually appreciate that? Not many. So you can be targeted by people around you with J-seals and all sorts of stuff that we've been alluding to. And the result is that you're just deficient of energy and your body is restricted and all that sort of stuff, alright? So these are all the challenges that we face and we're all enduring, alright? It might be people we care about and love and all that sort of stuff, but you have a right to exist in the state you want, free of influence. Like I say, the truth is not a violation. You existing in your potential is not a violation as well. Right? You're a threat, unfortunately. So you have to learn some skills and manage it and be courageous with healing and stuff like that. It's not negative, it's the fast track. It saves time, because time, our mortality is against us, alright? So time is a very precious commodity, and getting there as quick as you can at a reasonable rate. You know, you shouldn't be looking to get to a level without learning all the lessons, you know. The journey aspect gives you wisdom, you know, so you understand all this stuff. So if I just move on, I'm pretty sure I've shown you this before, is that then on top of all that, if you become highly aware, you can have stuff inserted into you that polarizes everyone else against you and you don't even know it, right? You'll probably find that there's polarity against you no matter what you do. It's just really interesting how people will find the wrong in what you do. They're not based in truth. They don't even know what the truth is. They don't have perception, but they just do the opposite of what you say, alright? If someone doesn't investigate or get the data to understand your context, they've probably got an agenda and they don't have the abilities to perceive, or they're being influenced and all that sort of stuff. So you just have to really sense that there's an opposite sort of thing going on, because it could be shrouding an agenda relative to you, or you know, just the lack of awareness, or there's a lot of influences going on with people to actually not appreciate the aware and to block them in, you know. So you might sense potential with people, but be spiritually selfish. You're not responsible for them. You're only responsible for your own thoughts, feelings and emotions. And once you know thyself and master you, and you eliminate you and your uncertainty and doubt and all that, then the ability to sense what's around you is more amplified. Alright, I'll just say that. So I'm going to move on. So in Influences 1, I talked about dreaming body hijacking and stuff, and the influences going on to mess with people on the multi-dimensional dream time aspects that would percolate through to the 3D that actually polarizes people against me, alright? And it's pretty nasty and high level and disgusting frackery, right? So I showed this image. So you can be dreaming with someone, and there's these external variables that come in and interfere with your dreaming. And they might have dreaming bodies or shades, as Carleen said, because I'm going to show you the clip that in Galactic Special Forces Part 10, Carleen talked about shades, because we realize it's very, very nasty, and it's being done to a lot of people, far more than what we even appreciated, because we're just not scumbags, alright? It's just like, holy frack. So, we talked about an aspect that can get stolen, alright, and hijacked, and then have negative stuff done, not just in your dreams, but in the reality. And these beings are using that to gain, and you get the sort of karma sort of consequence, right? Because it's an aspect of you and you don't have control. There is, but I'll just use that mechanics to get to it quick, alright? So then what happens is the aspect of you is hijacked, and it's more than just dreaming, alright? But I'm using dreaming here. So you have to really have courage to really trust the feeling you get about things, because the feelings are your tech and your gut, and it's an instant, so it can be very quick, alright? So you have to trust what you get, alright? So the images of people might be other residual images, like they look different, like it might look like someone that's familiar, but what they do isn't good, alright? That's sort of an indicator. So what I might do is share the clip from the Galactic Special Forces Part 10 where Carleen talks about shades, alright? Because she expands on it greatly. So I'll see you on the other side.
No, I was in good form, but then on the day after the blood moon, the Wednesday, had efforts around here to mess me up, and it was the post-election. It was the election night in the US, and the energies were pretty epic on the Wednesday and just chaotic and stuff. So that's when all that stuff with you was going on, and you understand. So.
Yeah, right.
So I had like full court press going on because I'd pissed off everyone, and I don't give a fuck.
I'm hiding. I'm staying under my rock. Nobody is going to get me.
I'm not fussed. I'm not compromising myself for anyone, you know?
Yeah.
You can't get me. So it was just going around me, but Captain Marvel said... She was guiding me for 2 days. She was like, you don't fucking have any idea the shit that was sent to you. It was nasty shit.
Right, yeah.
2 days of meditation and with her own stuff, because she had a hurricane sent to her place again, but I think that one was more just clear out the fucking Orlando shit.
Yeah.
So...
that's possibly me. Just giving things a bit of a sweep over.
Yeah. The multidimensional strategy going on to use people to just undermine me, her, you, and all that at the moment. And people think it's a game. They don't really... everything's up for grabs right now, you know? The stuff which you did up in Scotland and that couple of days, the 13th and 14th in October, that really broke a lot of backs in the frackery, I feel. And then the floodgates started opening, but then they've been just doing shit, and I know that it's sort of futile, but they're down the gurgler. They're gonna do all the dirty tricks they can because they don't give up anymore, you know? So
yeah, totally.
So what I've been doing is, I mean, even with the people that come through from you, it's not really about the money, it's about clearing as many people as I can ASAP, and everyone makes a difference. And then there's people that have been around, say, the other people, and they've been totally fracked and they don't even know it, and then I clear them, and then they're holy frack, they've actually can see what's gone on.
I think that the difference is that you have a lot more people saying your contract revocation.
Yeah.
And that, to me, is the thing that's flipping everything.
You're seeing it? You're seeing it?
Yeah. That reverberating out into the ethers, you know?
Line in the sand shit.
Yeah. Because there's so many of us doing it now.
Yeah. But you said the Bloodhound gangs and all the tracking tech, right? So I've sort of put it in there already, but it's broad.
Okay.
But
alright.
But it's interesting. So when we were talking about this stuff, I was getting her right ear ring energy in her right ear big time.
Right.
When I was talking to her about the Bloodhound gang sort of stuff, and her right ear was energetically ringing, alright? Like a chip in the ear, the top corner of the right ear.
Yeah, I've had a lot coming through that have been both sides, actually, of the psychic bloodhound units.
Yeah.
you know, those that have been hunted down and those that were the hunters, you know, who kind of flipped over the other side.
Yeah.
That are now, you know, all on like redemption contracts and trying to sort their panic stuff. Huh? I don't really get
But
on with her.
she's very cool because she's an epic muscle tester, and I was, well, have you done the Daisy of Death? Have you sensed it? And she's like, yeah, absolutely. It's bad, you know?
Yeah. Right, so a shade is something that through a magical operation you can separate part of your consciousness to become a shade.
Yeah.
Right, so they're hidden in the background. They're not presenting themselves as a being.
Yeah.
Right, they will put on a false guise, right, to go out and do shit to other people.
Yeah.
So there's no, and they'll do that to other people as well. So they'll basically create a rip in their consciousness.
Yeah.
Drag a piece of them out, right, to go off and do their bidding for them.
Yeah.
Which means that there's no recourse for the action to them. Right? So they've sent this thing out on in the guise
disagree. There'll be recourse.
Oh yeah. Right, so that's the assumption, that there is no recourse for them because they're just the ones, right, suggesting something. The person themselves chooses to go down the dark path, right, and agree with this, which, however, the manipulation is put out there to them, right, and then they'll just send it off and go, oh yeah, well it's just doing this for you. In the meantime, they're also using it.
Yeah.
So that's what I realise is how that mechanic of like that aspect of you getting tortured and stuff,
yeah,
and being used in other people's dream time. That's how he's doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I needed to kind of put the pieces together to understand how fucking devious a thing that is.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's just like... And the other thing that got me was like, how the fuck... I just got so irate. That's why I messaged you, because I was so frustrated and irate. It's just like, you fucking hell, you've got to hear this shit. But I just can't afford that. And neither can you.
Yeah.
You know, it is just like, I know we want to help everybody, but at the same time, if they can't
But this is the thing, right? This is the thing.
Oh.
This is the thing. You actually don't need to worry, because you being yourself is your ultimate defense. You understand?
Yeah.
And I don't have to do anything other than be me, because that's all I need. I don't leave gaps, and if I get hit, so be it. But that's where what's gone on this last few days is just been, you know, it's Cat Marvel saw it all. She knows what's going on, but it's only because we've done good, you know? Like, we're just like revealing all this shit, clearing up stuff, and I'm just going to talk about all of it, you know, and share it with people. And I'm not probably going to get as much interest, but the ones that do get it, and when the people do get it, when they get it, they'll just be like, holy frack, you know?
Yeah.
So all I need to do is just offer the data to people for that discernment diagram, you know, their own mechanics is going to kick in, and they're just going to know. And then we've already got the foothold, the beachfront going, you know, like the beachhead is there. We just have to execute what we're doing, you know?
Yeah.
Like, they can't flip people that know now. Like, truth is so elegant and efficient. And I'm going to work on your collarbones. So all their scumbaggery is just, it's going to be, they've already been outed, you know? So they're just like, I don't want to be seen. But you are through time.
Create some other charade.
And all that they do is just going to compound how bad it is, you know? So...
Yeah, totally.
welcome back. I hope you enjoyed that. So yeah, it's interesting, hey, because what I'm offering is that as context of experiences with someone. Because what's been happening, as I say, I'm very fortunate because some very aware beings out there that have vastly more perception than me, and I'm happy to acknowledge that. I'm not here to... It's not a competition in that. They've been messed with and stuff, right? Very, very diabolically, especially relative to the other things I say here, but this in particular, the shades, alright? So one individual out there, shout out to you, has helped expand all this because of what's been going on to them, and it's by the usual players, but my attitude, this is vastly more than just the usual players. It's pretty much everyone aligned to the negative, right? So everyone with talents has the potential to doing this, including me. So I've invited you, as I've said in the last video, to employ my revocation and discern me. As I've also said, on an influence level, I could have fine print that's not said there that I got loopholes to get out of that. Alright? So you can use whatever you want to discern me, but I'm inviting you to do it everyone else as well. Alright? Everyone that you've had interactions with, especially because of all this shit. Alright? Trust no one. Trust yourself. And do a real next level discernment on everything that you've ever been through. Alright? See what gets shaken out when we do that. Alright? So this individual, and if you've read my Facebook posts recently, I talked about Magi sort of stuff, where this individual and I, we did a infinite potential session where at the end of it, when she was clear, we did work to free up trapped Magi souls that are all aspects of us or our soul family that we've been missing and stuff for 70,000 years. So most of us could be say 70%, 7 out of 10 of our soul, just to get to the point. And that 3 over 10 is the captured aspects that limit us. So I'll show you this again. That's why you're hitting your head against awareness. But then when you get them back, they're the component that you're required to be able to be plain sailing. Does that make sense? So, yeah. So what happened? This being is very aware. So if you listen to the constructs I sort of create with Carlene, I actually work with these people with their awareness, but I guard them. And I've got the ability to help them see and give them context. So long story short, alright, this is freaking crazy. I think I've had way more than this person, alright? And it's not a competition, it's just a level of frackery that's gone on to do all the shit to me and stuff. But this individual had, it's not 1, it's not 5, it's 25 by certain people out there. 25 aspects that were all, even they were done voodoo freaking shit into their energy bodies, sort of meridian points, acupuncture points. So there was a multi-dimensional voodoo shit going on to another aspect of this being to limit them and influence them and stuff. So do you imagine what it was like if someone was doing all this, beings out there, very negative beings, were doing this shit to limit a very highly aware being, and all the shit that they've gone through in their life because their talents are a threat, right? It's just freaking... So what I do is, in the space, I after all the clearing of all the other chips and variables and stuff like that, this being with very vast awareness, I just ask them, how many aspects of you have been captured? And she went, oh shit, 25, holy fuck. So even if you don't have the awareness, alright, what I'm suggesting to people as I feel my right hamstring is, say when you do the revocation, alright, the infinite potential revocation, hold this variable of shades that you might have issues with and lean into it with the intent in your mind of, I want them back. And so when you recite it, You're sending out to the freaking universe. This is going to happen to you if you don't return them, right? You don't have to have awareness. Does that make sense? It's like the complacency thing I said at the start. You can be trapped in a world that you don't know how to get out of. So just these sort of aspects you can create in your algorithm when you do the revocation sort of thing. You don't even maybe need the revocation. I'm just offering that that's an avenue. But I'm suggesting to everyone freaking out there, do it. Okay? Just because of this shit. Right. So I'm going to move on because I don't want this to be very long. But how crazy is that? It's pretty much, it's something that I'm sort of open that everyone is have this sort of influence going on. Not just me, not just Carleen and stuff, or like Carleen talks about the bloodhound games that were being tracked through time and stuff, or this individual that has the awareness. It's pretty much everyone. But just see how badass you are for even enduring the shit, right? So I'm just going to move on. So this is another freaking client experience with another epic being out there. So shout out to you as well. This individual's been through a really tough life, but they're really freaking badass, right? And say I offered the mid-October sort of, and I've talked about that with Colleen and stuff. It seems like we sort of broke the reality a bit, and it's sort of the potential for a next wave of people of the coast is sort of clear, and that's sort of what's going on now. So very aware beings that have been in stasis or influenced or trapped in their own sort of shit, the level of energy to maintain that is dissipating, so they're finding their way, so to speak, despite all the frackery. So long story short, I'll just get to some of the equation of this individual. They're very experienced in entheogens. They've done sort of over 70 experiences in all sorts of those sort of realms. So they've had the courage to go into the multidimensional via them. Right? I'll just say that. They've gone different parts of the world and done it and stuff. But what it came out into the session, because what I do is I talk to people with all their traumas, and I don't really force it. The body sort of reveals stuff, and I just ask questions. And it's very organic what the individual wants to go into. I don't force it, like I said, but we explore it. And so this individual got the mechanics where I deal with the body consciousness, alright? So the body reveals what's going on. And they wanted to talk about this thing just to check the body versus the consciousness, because what happens is the energy bodies overlay with mine, and I can feel all the issues and stuff, right? This individual had been abused sexually before the age of 4 or 5 and stuff, so gone through all that shit. Had a very tough life and that, you know. And so they'd also had instances of ET abductions, right? So lost time and all sorts of stuff done. Okay? So I'm seeing them related. Okay? So they were traumatized and violated on a physical level that affected their energy body and stuff. And then they would have these instances of seeing sort of craft and that, maybe not being aware of the lost time, but they were just messed with so much and all this sort of stuff that it was very hard to really work out what was going on, right? And so just recently, and then what this individual says in the ceremonies that they've been into, and other times, they channel light language and off-world sort of languages that say the spiritual narrative sees as Pleiadian or Arcturian and stuff, which doesn't mean it's the case. The spiritual narrative isn't accurate, you know. It has a expression and identified as that sort of thing, blah blah blah, right? Because as I've said, the seeding from the 1750s, it's all set up for failure on that aspect, right? So the key out of that though is that with no reference for it in our world, and being sort of passive and submissive to what's going on in the narrative and the spiritual community, that they just went with it, right? But a long story short, they didn't actually feel in control of what was being done to them, or what they were channeling, or the language, or the source, alright? So my attitude is, I don't freaking like language, alright? If you don't know what the source is, or what you're saying, then why do it? You could be instigating Metatron seal sort of crap, you know? Okay? People like doing it, and they feel a buzz or whatever, but that can be like a parasitic buzz, alright? So I'm inviting that on those sort of concepts that are sort of accepted. I don't trust them. I've had issues with them and stuff, and even with this, so I can be polarized, alright? But just take on board what I'm saying. So the reason why I'm offering that as a whole mechanic sort of thing, alright, is to get to the conclusion of this, because I think, again, it's happening to a lot of people that we have no mechanics of. So out of all that recipe of an algorithm with this individual, as I cleared all the chips and blocks and issues and all sorts of stuff, alright, I'm just going to show you the image. What this individual did and felt was, it wasn't her own, alright? It didn't feel natural, it didn't feel good, but she had no control over it, so it was just happening. So that lack of control of what's going on in your body, it's very disconcerting, alright? So, and then say after that mid-October time I was saying, she was just on a Close Encounters binge. If you watch the Close Encounters movie, that guy gets a download and then goes through a journey that has a lot of polarity against the system, but then comes out and meets the species at the end. But it's probably not an ideal metaphor for this, but it's the same sort of thing. She had a will and a fire to really go out and find Ashayana and herself and her own, and that's how she found me and say Carlene. And then what happened is, with all that ingredients of what went on, what it came to is it found out that say the violation on a sexual level had opened up these big cones from her base and across her head, right? So wide open cones, right? With no defense. So say someone that hasn't been has a natural energetic defense, so to speak, right? And I'm just getting to this to say that, get to the point, right? What this individual was coming to the conclusion of, it was not of her will, but she didn't have control over it. So can you imagine all this stuff's going on to your body and you don't have control, alright? So in all the session and stuff, her offering all these coordinates of what's going on in her body, it came out that her, like a skull cap energy body, had been transplanted with something that wasn't hers, alright? So you imagine your crown, alright? You get an energy body of your crown transplanted with something other that's not yours, but it has all the pathways so it can, all the shit can be done to you that's not even in your control. And so she had a lot of violations going on in her body and all that, so she wasn't in control. She was in pain and all these sort of things, had been through a lot of bad experiences, all sorts of the frackery and the polarity and the chips and the awareness and stuff. But she had the frickin' badass will to get through all this and then find me. And so we did the healing and it was epic, alright? So why I'm saying this being was sort of aware of it, but it was in my space that it became aware. I know there's a lot of other people out there, right, that this has happened to. So I'm not saying all those things are bad, but are they all good, right? And what you'll find is probably a very, very small proportion are good, in my opinion, right? So it's really freaking crazy. It's like being through 30 years of this stuff, you know? So imagine what it's like to actually feel that for the first time after 30 years and what the potential of this being is. So this is what I feel a lot of the high level beings, right? If I just go back to the other image, a lot of the beings with this potential are being hit early in their life to prevent it, right? And then not only that, they've got the talents, But then their talents are hijacked to work for the negative sort of aspects, all right, and bring through stuff. And, you know, to have these sort of talents, you might be able to perceive yourself or offer yourself as superior in talents than other people, and sure, so be it. But what are you bringing through, all right? What's the consequence karmically on you doing this, all right? So yeah, that's just an interesting mechanics, all right? So I'm just going to move on. So it comes to another experience, because I don't want this to be too long. And this is very interesting as well, because this being had an interaction with mantis sort of insect beings. And this is crazy, all right? Because this came out of a session as well, because they've got the potential to do epic work, and they've had life threats and all sorts of stuff, right? So if I just show you this, to say this is another metaphor of that journey sort of thing. To say through time at a higher dimensional level, these off-world species can see you and your potential and your threat, alright? So this is what was going on to this individual, long story short. And this was just 5 or 10 years ago, before they really got going and say found me and my information and stuff. Is she had an instance where she saw in her periphery a mantis sort of insectoid sort of species, alright? And it was in the periphery, but this person has very big awareness, as I feel my right hamstring again. So I'm going to talk about this, alright? Because this is, I talk about Stockholm Syndrome, where you gravitate to your perpetrators sort of thing, alright? And what was going on with this being is that in her feeling state of her mind and her construct of these species, she felt a resonance to. She felt they were good, alright? She felt they were an ally and all this sort of stuff, alright? She's had a lot of messed up stuff going on with her family and all that. The people around her, poetically, alright, when she gets these heightened states, the family members are triggered, and then they try to undermine her and stuff like that, alright? So what was going on in a sort of pretty quick session, not much warning, was it came out, let's say this back in time, she was messed with, whether it was abductions or whatever. It's not really, it can be all of the above, alright? And what was done is she was white, she was put into a construct, say even in the past lives, way back, alright? So this was seeded way back through time, in other lives, a long time ago. Because I'd done the show with Carlene, and it's unlocked a lot of violative stuff with people, alright? Galactic Special Forces Part 11 and 10. And so this was seeded back through time, even like millions of years ago, thousands of years ago, you know? So it was a bit like the movie Cowboys and Aliens, where you wake up with amnesia, right? I love that film, it's awesome. And so what they had done, right, they'd inserted data and memories to create the context that they were her allies, right? And so that's how she felt that resonance to them. Then what it came out in this session was that was actually bullshit. They'd wiped it, created a memory construct, and using probably projection technology to make the individuals feel that they are allies when they're actually enemies under control and being puppeted. And so what it came out was, with the mechanics, once we cleared her, is all the family being puppeted as well. So that's all violative stuff, right? So crazy, hey, the level of diabolical bullshit. So how do you think that species is going to go after all this stuff has worked out? Because they didn't like it, and then they were interfering with the connection and stuff like that. So we had a break in that. But this is one of those very aware beings that I said that once they get the So if I go back to another image, so this being is very, very aware with high talents. So once you get the context of what's going on with you, with a defensive space and say me holding it, we're able to remove all that shit and all the contracts and tear them up and bring them into the spiritual code of equity for resolution of what they've done and everyone they've ever done it to. Alright? So yeah, very interesting. Hey, so challenges of expansion. Hey, all this stuff is going on. So if you're feeling that isn't your potential, then perhaps all this stuff has been going on with you and it's been seeded through time and all that sort of stuff. Alright? Because as I showed in that other image, these beings with multidimensional can see our potential through time, and then they target us and mess with us and all that sort of stuff, alright? It doesn't even have to be off-world, it's just the aspects here in control, or the metaguru sort of stuff, alright? So I don't want you to take away that there's fear of expansion going on. There's something to avoid and all that sort of stuff. What I'm trying to invite you to contemplate is that this stuff has been going on with you, and that's how you are, why you are, and stuff as a potential. But don't play it like the victim, like this is the only thing. It's your responsibility to maintain your clearance and stuff, and do all the energy hygiene, and don't get complacent, and get resolution if you need it, alright? Because it is a tough environment, and there's all this stuff going on, and just if you really listen to that Galactic Special Forces Part 11, where to me that's our purpose identified, right? Purpose isn't hard, it's been obfuscated by people and with these sort of allies that don't want you to achieve that, and I'm a epic metaphor of that, and I appreciate Carlene for offering me a truth that I've never gained in all the years of all the interactions and stuff in a couple of hours, right? So it's important you don't take away a fear aspect. They got fear of you. Does that make sense? So maybe go watch the Captain Marvel movie again with this context of our potency as humans on Earth Mother restored to her natural beauty. Alright? Yeah, I'll just wind this out because it's quite long, but another really cool thing that's gone on, alright? If you've listened to, say, To Infinity and Beyonds with Carlene, we talked about the elementals and clearing all the grid out and stuff, and obviously revealing big truths recently. Those of you that know me but don't know me, I actually guard a very sacred area at the mouth of the Amazon of Australia, the River Murray. And all the rain going through Australia is going to do something really potent with the entry, and it's going to flush it all out, which doesn't happen very often. So my metaphor is holding that ground for almost 7 years. Well, actually, it's coming up to 7 years. That's very interesting. So me as an expression of truth, right? It's cleaning out all the bullshit, right, through all the river systems of Earth. So to me, being a servant of truth, it's a metaphor of coming to this truth now. You know, these truths, even just recently after a decade and a half of searching for this stuff. So while the system doesn't know anything other than just to approach and limit and see anyone that has awareness as a conspiracy theorist and stuff, so there's going to be a lot of polarity in the reality and the narrative against people with awareness. I will invite you to just contemplate that that's the system's fear of us, right? And they're trying to make us feel inferior and in fear of it, right? It's just a projection. So just, you know, do your energy hygiene, salt baths and stuff, do healing, turn off all the, you know, getting disillusioned with people out there and stuff, right? Because the gap that you're giving space to is most likely tapping into the true records, right? In my opinion. So exhaust the disillusion, see where it takes you, alright? And if you don't feel resonance to me, that's cool, alright? But I'm just inviting that as a context of what is going on now, because a lot of the truth of the layers and the people out there, get primal on your truth, alright? They're not responsible for giving you truth, but you take responsibility of what you accept, alright? Just employ that concept and see what happens. So I thank all those people that have trusted me and seeking me out, and I've had awesome times. Like I said, a lot of stuff just really is amazing and it reveals itself, and I hope you gain something from this as always. And yeah, just realize you've been enduring all this stuff. It is what it is, right? We are the epic badasses of the universe, and we've been slumbering for a long time, and just enjoy the privilege of being the few that are aware of this stuff in this reality at the moment, and the courage it is that you've had to say find someone like me. So I'm just going to round this out. I want to thank you, and if you've been around me for a while and you've invested in me, I appreciate you, and thank you for allowing me to continue doing this when I'm not that presently accepted in what I say, and that's cool. This is my truth, and I'm just seeding the future potential when it all becomes a match for people. Or if I'm proved wrong, I'm proved wrong. But you gotta appreciate, like, coming visually seeing myself and using my name, that would you come out and talk bullshit like that, alright? When a lot of others out there are, right? So I take responsibility of what I offer, and if I'm wrong, I'll correct it going forth. But I'm feeling like I'm in a next level flow, and Carlene is going to be chomping at the bits with her next level awareness and comfort and trust and confidence and stuff. So her attitude and mine is, we're not here to drip feed stuff, we're to be the dam of release of all the content and stuff, and to give humanity the choice to entertain, contemplate, integrate and accept, right? So we'll see what I wanted to get this influences in because it's important to appreciate this, and but take away the courage that you have to endure all this stuff, right? So I hope you have an awesome solstice. Make the most of it, and your courage of being here, and keep up the good work, guys. Thank you for allowing me to be a part of your journey, and we'll see you next time. Lots of love. Andre out.
We have to look out for things like art. Yeah, what are we going to do about it? You know, go up and sit down the thing and threaten to blow it up. That's going to do us a lot of good, you know. That won't help. We can help with things like that by learning the mechanics of our bioenergetic fields and learning how to block stuff like that from affecting us. Then, if we get really good at it, we can start doing what they do, which is remote viewing sabotage on people. We can learn to do that. If the government can train their little groups of people to do remote viewing, and not just viewing, they don't just view, they go in and they manipulate. They know how to access people's fields from the astral level. They can monitor, but they can also impulse you with their own thought patterns to do what they want you to. And they've been using this for about 20 years, actively. There are people that come out and talk about this, about the remote viewing and stuff, that were right in the middle of it. People that were in the military, that were in these programs. And then they come out of them and they try to talk about it, and the military really tries to shut them up very quickly. It doesn't, I don't know if anybody that's been killed for it, but they try to discredit them and make them look like loonies and deny the existence of the program. Well, I tell you, these programs are real. I've seen them because I'm trained in remote viewing. I was trained by the Guardian Alliance in remote viewing. And what I saw scared the heck out of me. Because there are government guys running around in the astral, in their astral bodies. Groups of them, manipulating groups of humans. It's like, it's bad enough we have interdimensional ETs that have all this ability. There are humans that have this ability too, and they are trying to mess with us. Sometimes fighting fire with fireworks. We're in the middle of a war for our consciousness, and we don't even know it. We walk around, everything's peaceful, no bombs are flying, it seems very fine. If you turned on your fourth dimensional perception by activating the fourth DNA strand, you would go to New York City and see it looks like a parking lot for spaceships up there. You would go into certain areas and you would see things that would terrify you that are here. It's kind of like what you don't see, I just hurt you. It's time we learn to see. We have the ability to open our eyes. That's what the programs that we're working to do, the spiritual programs. That's why we went spiritual on it. Because it's not going to help to get people all stirred up and scared. Certain groups are ready for the big time stuff. Other groups just would go into total terror and fall apart, knowing that we have been deceived, we are in the process of being deceived, and we're in the process of an attempted mental takeover. We can fight it. This group knows this. There's enough strength here. There's not fear here. Other groups that I've gone to, you know that if I said these things to them, they would just fall apart. They would go home and, oh my God, it's like take a number for the local shrink office, because they would all be lining up because they would be in terror. So I don't give that information to them yet. What I do first is I teach them about their own interdimensional parts. And I teach them about something called Hoover bodies, which are three-dimensional electromagnetic grids that we have sets of. That when you integrate them, they're scalar fields. When you integrate them, they progressively activate the DNA and open the awareness to higher and higher dimensional fields. Ascension is really not that hard. It takes time to get the gene code that's been dormant for so long into activation, but it's not that hard. That's the silly thing about it all. Everybody's made such a big to-do about it down here. Everybody trying to hide what it was really about. There's a roadmap to integrating your higher level identity. Integrating your higher level identity will change your electromagnetic fields. It will also change the constitution of your body form and your consciousness. That is what will protect you. All these technologies that the ETs are trying to use on us, and the government's trying to use, these are baby toys when it comes to real higher dimensional consciousness. They're little baby toys, but to us they're massive and huge because we've been denied even that much knowledge.
John Lilly once put it this way: there are no limits at all to the human mind whatsoever, except those we impose on ourselves because of our beliefs. And those limits are also beliefs to be transcended. And that's a view that suggests that the possibilities of human transformation are virtually infinite. And we have no way of knowing the outer horizon of what it means to be human.
And really, to understand all this, everything, you have to go very, very deep into a study of history, consciousness, neurophysiology, everything. You have to be the supreme eclectic type of leaning, and you really have to be wanting to know who you are and what everything's about.
And the thing that you'll find when you go to sacred sites, if you're very humble about it, is that you are on a personal journey, and the sacred site will respond to you in a way that is appropriate only to you. The information is always what you are searching for. And it's the intent you give that energy that defines whether it is used for right action or not. And it is inside these sacred spaces that you will be reminded that you are a God, that you are a bright star.
So what you're trying to do is move through the course without ricocheting off walls or creating karma. You're trying to slide through things smoothly. How do you do that? It's called flowing. There's a technique that you can do that will allow you to touch some part of your inner being that has more knowledge than your conscious state does.